and I've been a professional dog trainer for the last almost 17 years, 17 years in March. I know I look really good for my age, right? Anyway, so I'm just curious to know how many people here actually have dogs. Quite a few of you. Those who don't have dogs, do you have cats? Nobody has cats? Oh, sorry. Okay, and the rest of you, this will still apply to you because I have, what I'm going to speak on is actually how to overcome your fear. Irony. So one of my specialties as a dog trainer is really, I speak dog fluently essentially. So my job as a dog trainer is to, advocate for your dog and basically be the interpreter for you. So when you come to me with an issue, generally speaking, most people come to me with an issue and say, I need this dog to stop doing X because it's driving me crazy. Or I want my life to be better, so he needs to change so that I have a better life. We all know that story, but the responsibility really lies on you. The dog's happy, hopefully, living the life they're living. Now, as far as fear goes, we tend to think about when you were a kid, for example, and something scared you, and somebody said to you, "Oh, it's okay, it's not that scary." And somebody went, "No, just go and do that anyways. It's not that scary. Like, touch the snake. No, come touch the snake. Really, it's okay." And if you had a valid, legitimate fear, I just invalidated how terrified you actually are. So what I'm looking to do as a dog trainer is to see the dog where it's at, to find a place where I can start working with it from, and to work it gradually at its own pace towards the end goal. So for example, so there's a systematic way to do that. It is important to read the dog, so that's where I come in as the interpreter for you. But let's say you already understand that your dog's afraid of the popcorn popper. So one of my dogs is afraid of the popcorn popper. So what I'm going to do when I'm looking to help a dog, or anybody really, I've used this toward the people as well, overcome any fear, is I'm going to try and find the smallest, I'm going to try and present that fear to them in the least invasively way possible, the least stressful way possible for that dog, so that they can see it, they can be present with it, and they can still go, okay, that wasn't so bad. I can do that. So, for example, if your fear was snakes, and maybe me showing you a snake was too overwhelming, we might actually literally have to start with a cartoon picture of a snake, so that you go, okay, that's cool, like that's okay, I can deal with that. So with the popcorn popper, for example, so in this case it was a sound, the sound of the popcorn popper being plugged in, the aerator, was what sent my dog running out of the room. She tucked her tail, cried, ran, went and hid under the bed. So my goal was, how can I make her feel comfortable with the popcorn popper, because I like popcorn. So I was motivated to find a result here. So for her, the way it worked for her, the least stressful possible way I could work with her to begin with was to simply plug in the popcorn popper for 1 second. So I'd plug it in, it'd go on for a second, I'd unplug it, and then now here's the key, you have to give the dog something of value to them. So there has to be, you're taking something that's really crappy and stressful to them. So, you know, if I'm gonna ask you to touch a snake, there has to be something intrinsically reinforcing for you to actually want to do that. There has to be motivation. So with popcorn popper, I had high value treats. So it could be steak, it could be garlic sausage, it could be fried liver, whatever your dog defines what's valuable to them. By the way, so it's the same for you. Like I might think maybe $20 is valuable to me, but maybe 1,000 is more valuable to you. Like you might not even touch a snake for 1,000. Like you define what's reinforcing for you. So in the case of my dog, let's say we were using liver, plug the popcorn popper in for a second, unplug it, reward the heck out of her until she's like, okay, well, that was awesome, okay, cool. Give her a couple seconds to recover, or maybe more, 20, 30 seconds to recover, plug it in again, 1 to 2 seconds, unplug it, immediately reinforce the dog with something that is valuable to them. Once the dog says, now what I'm looking for, so here's the magic part, is at some point what starts to happen is you get what's called the emotional response your dog has to what previously triggered a stressful response. The emotional response was stress, you tucked your tail and ran. What starts to happen is the dog actually becomes more alert, they become excited, they actually start to anticipate the sound because of what follows, because of the reward that follows. So once after when I've practiced a few times of plugging the popper in for a second and rewarding her, she starts to go, oh, that's okay. Or maybe I get a tail wag, or maybe she moves in towards me, or maybe I plug the popper in and she immediately goes, oh, I'm here, I'm ready, feed me my steak. Then I know I'm ready to move to the next step, which is plug it in a little longer, leave it going a little, maybe make it a little louder. If you have a popper with multiple settings. If now let's just say the popper on its own is a little too stressful, I might have to enlist the help of somebody. I might get them to plug in the popper, and I might take my dog into another room or literally outside and have a window open so she could hear the popper, but at a very minor level of very low volume, let's say. Anyways, in Cricket's case, Cricket's my dog's name, it actually was a fairly short process for her. Her and I have trained through a lot of stuff, so thankfully we have a relationship built up, a rapport, trust already. So we were able to move through this fairly quickly. Now, the key things to remember is you don't move to the next step until your dog tells you they're ready, until your dog says, yes, oh, I'm that, whatever we were just doing, that's awesome, I can totally do that. Let's what else do you have for me? Then you say, well, can you do this? Can I give you a little more? You've been doing that to us all weekend so far. Are you ready for a little more? Can I push a little more?
In my pocket.
Yeah.
Or chocolate.
Yeah, that's right. So it is really important to always say, to work at your dog's pace, because you can't, like I said before, you can't decide what's stressful for your dog. Your dog is going to decide what's stressful for them. So when your dog decides that it's no longer stressful, then you can move to the next step. The tricky part with working through fear is that sometimes it's really hard to figure out an achievable next step. So that can be the tricky part. But what you're aiming to do, though, is to always just gradually move forward. And maybe you try a little, maybe you go from 1 second of the popper to 5, and the dog goes, whoa, that was too much. Okay, so you back it off, and you go, okay, well, can you do 2 seconds? And if the dog says, yep, I can do that, then you go, can you do 3 seconds? Yes, I can do that. Do you need earmuffs? Maybe you need to plug your ears with something while you're working through it. So does that make sense? Does everybody follow me? So if you think about something like, now actually kids are a really great example. I was given the opportunity to work with a little girl last year. She's 3.5 years old. She was terrified of dogs. And her owners, kids, can you tell? Her humans, her parents, contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to help her overcome her dogs. Absolutely. So exact same principles apply. We've got a little girl who came in. Of course, now I don't have a relationship with this little girl, so my first job is I have to establish a rapport with that little girl first. She was super shy, as little girls sometimes can be, and she was super shy and clung to her dad, and her dad went, and her dad said, oh, it's okay, honey, you say hi to her. And I said, first rule, you don't get to decide. So she's not, I said, she doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to do in this session. And that was the template that we're going to be working off of. She gets to dictate when she moves forward, what she's comfortable with, and what she's willing to do. So it started first session of being literally across the courtyard or parking area, 100 feet or so. Me with my dog here, and her dad, in her dad's arms, way over there, and me giving my dog cookies and constantly communicating with her. What would you like us to do next? Would you like me to ask her to sit? Can I get her to do a trick for you? Is it okay if your dad throws her a cookie? I used her dad as a middleman because she had a rapport with her dad, obviously. And within a very short period of time, with Elodie saying, yes, Elodie's a little girl, Elodie saying, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. Then I would say, okay, well, what if I come a little closer? How about that? Can you tell me when to stop? And she actually couldn't. She was incapable of saying, that's too close. Maybe because of her age, or maybe because at some point in the past her parents overrode it anyway. And so that's where you have to be capable of reading the person you're working with, or the dog or the cat that you're working with, and saying, ooh, she turned away, so my cue for her for getting too close, so she went like this. And I went, oh, is that too close? I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, I'll just go back here. And where she went, and then she relaxed and she let go of the death grip on her dad. So it was a really great opportunity for her to learn how to trust. Within 3 little short sessions, so 3 45-minute sessions with her, between that session and the last session I did with them, she was approaching dogs at the park, asking to pet them. She came to my last session, and the dog that she was too afraid to touch, she wasn't even comfortable on the ground. She'd been in her dad's arms the entire time, for every session we've done so far. We put her on the ground. She was ready to go on the ground, and her big sister came to the session, and she showed her big sister how to train that dog.
Oh, awesome.
It's one of my proudest moments.
Yeah. Good.
Anyway, so.